we are going to review the movie The Elephant that came in 1980. Let's talk about its full movie review and fact. Firstly, let's talk about its basic information. Its movie name is The Elephant Man. It's released in 1980s and its director is David Lynch, and it's a drama biography movie, and its runtime is 124 minutes, and it's based on the real life of Joseph John Merrick, and its lead actors are John Hurt, Anthony Hopkins. And this film is not meant to entertain in the usual sense. It is meant to make you feel, question, and reflect. Let's talk about its story overview. Set in the Victoria era London, the story follows John Merrick, a man born with several physical deformities because of his appearance. Society treats him not as a human being but as a monster. He is displayed in freak shows, hidden from the public eye, and spoken about as if he were an object. His life changed when Dr. Frederick Krabs, a surgeon, discovers him and brings him to a hospital, not knowing whether he is resuming a man or studying a mystery. From that point, the film becomes less about illness and more about what it means to be human. If we talk about John Mann, a life of silent suffering. John Merrick doesn't speak too much in the beginning, not because he has nothing to say, but because the world has never listened. His body has been shaped by disease, but his soul remains gentle. He is polite, intelligent, sensitive, and painfully aware of how others see him. Every interaction hurts, not because of cruelty alone, but because of pity, which wounds just as deeply. The tragedy is not his condition. The tragedy is how people respond to it. If we talk about Dr. Travis, science versus humanity, Dr. Travis initially views Merrick through a medical lens. He wants to understand him, study him, explain him. But slowly Travis realizes something terrifying. He may not be reasoning Merrick, he may simply be exploiting him more politely. This eternal conflict becomes one of the most powerful aspects of the film. The story asks, is kindness still exploitation if dignity is missing? If we talk about themes of the film, first, humanity beyond appearance. The film repeatedly asks one question, who is truly deformed? The man with a broken body or the society with a broken heart? Merrick shows compassion, humility, and gratitude, quality many normal people lack. And if we talk about cruelty of curiosity, people claim fascinating educations and interest, but often it is simple. For a reason, the film exposed how cruelty can hide behind respectability. And if we talk about loneliness, then even in safety, Merrick is deeply alone. He is protected but isolated and surrounded by people yet untouched emotionally. And if we talk about dignity, more than comfort, Merrick wants dignity. To be addressed as a man, to be spoken to, not about, to be seen, not stared at. If we talk about direction and visual style, the film is shot in black and white, giving it a dream-like haunting quality. The shadow feel heavy. The smoke-filled streets feel suffocating. This visual choice reflects Mary's inner world, quite restrained and tragic. David Lynch avoids melodrama, he lets silence speak. If we talk about music and sound, the score is soft and mournful. It never manipulates emotion aggressively. Instead, it gently guides the viewer into empathy. Silence is used as powerful as music. And if we talk about performance, John Hurt with John Merrick, one of the greatest performance in cinema history, hidden beneath heavy prosthetic but convey emotion through. And if we talk about voice, posture, breathing, stillness, uh, his performance is heartbreaking and dignified. If we talk about Anthony Hopkins, Dr. Travis Hopkins delivers restraint. His performance is thoughtful, conflicted, and human. He portrayed a man wrestling with morality, not heroism. And if we talk about emotional power of the film does not ask you to feel sorry for Merrick. It asks you to respect him. That difference makes the film unforgettable. By the end, the audience doesn't mourn his appearance, they mourn his suffering. And if we talk about facts about this movie, the film is based on the real Joseph Merrick, often mistakenly called John Merrick. John Hurt spent 7 to 8 hours daily in makeup. The prosthetics were so convincing that the Academy believed they were real. Because of this film, the Oscar later created the Best Makeup category. The movie received 8 Academy Awards nominations, and it is considered one of the most compassionate films ever made. And if we talk about final feeling, the Elephant Man is not about deformity, it's about empathy. It shows how easy it is to fear what looks different and how rare it is to truly understand another human being. Its most famous line defines the entire film. I'm not an animal, I'm a human being. That line is not spoken loudly. It is spoken desperately. And if we talk about final verdict, The Elephant Man 1980 is a quite masterpiece. It doesn't shock, it doesn't entertain loudly, it says long after the screen fades to black. And if we talk about its rating, then it's 9.5 out of 10. And let's talk about its more review. It's loading. So you know it's loading, then loading. Ah. Okay, so let's if we talk about opening atmosphere, a word that is actually different. The film opens like a nightmare. Dark visuals, heavy breathing, distorted faces. Before we even see John Merrick clearly, the movie tells us something important. This is not just his nightmare. This is how the world sees him. David Lynch creates an atmosphere where fear comes not from horror but from ignorance. The Victorian world shown here is beautiful on the surface. Clean clothes, manners, science, progress, yet underneath it's crucial, judgmental, and heartless. And if we talk about John Merrick, a man born into punishment, John Merrick didn't choose his body, he didn't choose pain. Yet from birth his life became a sentence, without trial, without mercy. Because of his severe physical condition, he is hidden by his family, abandoned by society, and finally sold into a freak show. People pay money not to understand him but to feel superior. The crowd gasps, laughs, whispers, because to them he is not suffering, he is entertainment. And if we talk about the freak show when humanity disappears, the freak show scenes are extremely disturbing, not because of Merrick's appearance but because of audience. Men drink and joke, women faint dramatically, children stare without understanding. The owner treats Merrick like property, he is locked, beaten, and controlled. And yet, even here, Merrick never shows anger. only fear, only shame, only silence. The silence becomes the loudest voice in the film. And if we talk about Dr. Frederick Travis, the first glimpse of hope. Dr. Travis enters Merrick's life almost by accident. At first, his interest in scientific. He sees a medical mystery, a rare condition never fully documented. He rescues Merrick from the show and brings him to the hospital. But this rescue is complicated because Merrick is still being observed, still being examined, still being presented just now to educated people instead of drunk crowds. The movie asks a brutal question. Is exploration still exploration when done politely? If we talk about hospital life, safety without freedom, in the hospital, Merrick is given food, clean clothes, and shelter, but not freedom. He is isolated in a room, hidden from the public, protected yet imprisoned. Doctors discuss him like a spaceman. Some nurses fear him, others refuse to enter his room. Even kindness feels distance. Merrick senses this. He understands more than people expect. And this is what breaks the heart. He knows he is unwanted. And if we talk about the moment he speaks, one of the most powerful scenes in cinema history occurs when Merrick finally speaks clearly. With trembling voice, he says, I'm not an animal, I'm a human being. This moment does not feel heroic. It feels desperate, a man begging to be acknowledged as human. The room falls silent because suddenly everyone realizes they were wrong. Not about his body, but about his mind, his soul, his dignity. And if we talk about Merrick's inner world, as time passes, we discover Merrick's intelligence. He builds model churches and he quotes poetry. He dreams, he is gentle, polite, and deeply emotional. His imagination becomes his escape. He finds beauty where life gave him none. And this creates the film's most uh, painful irony. The man treated as a monster is the most human character in the entire history. If we talk about society's hypocrisy, when high class society discovers marriage, their reaction changes. Now he is interesting, fascinating, and tragic. They invite him to parties, they bring him gifts, they uphold his courage, but even this kindness carries distance. They admire him but from afar. They prize him but never lie with him, never live with him. Their competition is scheduled, controlled, temporary. The film shows that the cruelty and pity are often two sides of the same coin. And if we talk about loneliness, the deepest pain, Marriage greatest suffering is not physical pain, it's loneliness. He has no equal, no companion, no one who truly understands his existence. Even Dr. Travis thought kind can't fully connect. There is always a variant, always a difference, always a reminder. The world makes room for very, but never a place. And if we talk about Dr. Dre's guilt, as the film progresses, Dr. Travis begins to question himself. He realizes that he may be using merit for his own moral satisfaction. He feels proud of saving him, but pride itself becomes another form of exploitation. This self-awareness is rare and painful. The doctor begins to see that goodness is complicated, that helping someone does not automatically make you righteous. And if we talk about the final act, choosing peace, in the final moments of the film, Merrick experiences peace. He watches a theatrical performances. He is treated with dignity and he feels accepted, briefly falls. First time he feels like he belongs somewhere in the world, and then he makes a decision, a quiet one, a deeply one, human one. He chooses to lie down like a normal man, knowing it will end. He's like not out of despair, but out of longing to sleep like others do. To be normal just once the moment is given resting. Not dramatic, not loud, just silent acceptance. And if we talk about cinematic brilliance, black and white cinematography enhances emotion. Slow pacing allows empathy to grow. Minimal dialogue increases realism. Shadow symbolizes social darkness. Silence becomes storytelling. David Lynch proves that horror does not require monsters, only lack of empathy. If we talk about music and the sound of sadness, the music never forces tears. It gently follows emotions like a soft echo of Mary's heart. The soundtrack respects the story. It knows when to stay back, and if we talk about powerful real life facts based on Joseph Merrick, a real historical figure, Merrick suffered from severe physical disorder. Exact diagnosis is still debated. He lived most of his life hidden from society. The film helped changes how people view disability in cinema, inspired empathy focused storytelling worldwide, often ranked among the most human films ever made. And if we talk about true meaning of the film, this movie teaches one simple truth. Being human has nothing to do with appearance. Humanity is shown through kindness, patience, humility, understanding, compassion. Merrick had all of these, the world often did not. And if we talk about final verdict, the Elephant Man is not entertainment, it's an experience, a mirror, of lesson, a reminder that dignity is the most basic human needs and the most easily denied. And if we talk about more, then let's go for more. Excluding pride, you have to wait and you will. Sorry for your time, but you have to wait. There is no other way that you can. A film that begins with fear, not visit. The movie does something very unusual. It doesn't introduce its main character clearly. Instead, it introduces fear first. Darkness, deserted shadows, heavy breathing, uncomfortable sounds. This is intentional. The film wants us to feel the same fear society feels before we understand the truth, because that is exactly how John Merrick's life unfolds. People hear him first, judge him second, understand him last, if ever. This opening tells us something about the real deformity in this story is not physical, it is not emotional blindness. If we talk about birth as occurs not because of nature but people. John Merrick is one different, and from that moment the world decided it. The tragedy is not that he is born with a condition. The tragedy is that no one teaches him. He still deserves love. His mother dies early. His father can't accept him. Society rejects him. Before Jones can even understand who he is, the world has already decided who is not normal, not welcome, not equal. This rejection becomes his first teacher. If we talk about the freak show where pain becomes profit, the freak show is one of the darkest parts of the film. Not because of violence, but because of acceptance of cruelty. People line up, they pay money, they laugh, curse, mock, whisper. John is forced to stand behind curtains like an object. He is shown in peace, never fully, because full humanity would make the crowd uncomfortable. The show owner does not see John as alive, he sees income. Every scream becomes money, every fear becomes business. This is not just exploitation, it is legalized cruelty. Science enters, but is science always kind? When Dr. Frederick Travis finds John, something changes. For the first time, someone looks at him without laughter, but still not with love, with curiosity. Travis sees a medical history, a case study, a rare condition. This is important because the film does not portray Travis as evil. He is a good man, but even good men can reduce people to cases without realizing it. The movie quietly asks it is curiosity compassionate or selfish? If we talk about safety without belonging, John is brought to the hospital. His life improves on the surface. He has clean clothes, warm bed, medical care, food. But something essential is missing. Belonging he is hidden from visitors, kept away from other patients, protected like something dangerous. He is safe but alone. The hospital walls replace the brick showcase. Different buildings, some isolation. The fear, if we talk about the fear of being seen, one of the most harrowing details is that John believes he deserves this treatment. He apologizes constantly, he avoids eye contact, he expects punishment. This shows long term emotional damage. When someone is treated as less than for too long, they stop asking for dignity. They feel guilty for existing. This is psychological trauma shown quietly, realistically, and painfully. If we talk about I am not an animal, when John finally speaks clearly, it's not dramatic shouting, it is trembling courage. His famous line is not a declaration of pride, it is a plea. He does not say, I am strong, I am brave. He says, I am human because humanity is the one thing denied to him his entire life. This movement breaks everyone, including the audience, because he realizes how little he was asking for. If we talk about intelligence hidden behind fear, as people begin to talk with John, a revelation emerges. He is intelligent, polite, well spoken, thoughtful. He quotes poetry. He understands kindness. He feels embracement and gratitude. He is emotionally deeper than many around him. The movie destroys the false idea that appearance reflects intellect. John becomes the winner of forcing society's shallow judgment. And if we talk about high society, the kindness, when wealthy people meet John, the tone changes. They clap, they praise, they smile, but something still feels wrong because they treat him like inspiration, not like a person. They admire his courage from a safe distance. They feel good about themselves for showing kindness, but they go home to normal lives. John remains alone. The film exposes a difficult truth. Sometimes kindness is about how it makes the giver feel, not how the receiver lives. And if we talk about the Dr. Travis, if we talk about Dr. Travis's inner conflict, Travis slowly realizes something terrifying. He may not be much different from the freak show. One made money, the other gained reputation, admiration, and moral pride. Both displayed John. This realization destroyed him internally. The film shows that guilt is not luck. It is quiet, it sits inside the mind and asks questions without answers. If we talk about Merrick's dream of normalcy, John does not dream of wealth, he does not dream of fame, he dreams of simple things. Sleeping normally, walking freely, being unseen without fear. He dreams of being ordinary, which is the most heartbreaking dream of all, because ordinary is something the world gives freely, except to him. And if we talk about the final choice, not suicide but peace. The ending is misunderstood by many. John does not choose death out of sadness, he chooses it out of longing. He wants to sleep like other men, flat, peaceful, normal, for once in his life. It's not disappear, it's acceptance. A final quiet rebellion against a body that never allowed him rest. The film ends not with tragedy, but with silence, a silence filled with dignity. And if we talk about why this film is timeless, this film is timeless. No cheap drama, no manipulation, no exaggerated emotions. Everything feels real. The film does not beg for tears. It earns them, it teaches empathy without preaching. If we talk about deep facts, if we talk about deep facts based on the real Joseph Merrick, 1862 to 1890, actual media conditions still debated today. Film changes portrayal of disability in cinema. Widely studied in psychology and ethics, considered one of the most compassionate films ever made. And if we talk about final meaning, the elephant one is not about deformity. It's about how society treats difference, how loneliness feels quietly, how dignity matters more than comfort, how humanity is not something here, it is recognized. John Merrick did not need fixing. John Merrick did not need fixing, the world did. And if we talk about more, If we talk about the silence around John Merrick, most films tell stories through dialogue. This film tells its truth through silence. John Merrick spends much of his life not speaking, not because he can't, but because speaking was never safe. When he speaks, when he speaks, people instead. When he moves, people recoil. When he exists, people react. So he learns the most painful skill a human can learn: how to disappear while still within the silence. Becomes his protection, not peace. Protection. If we talk about the psychology of being uninvented, when someone grows up involves something breaks quietly inside, they stop asking questions, they stop expressing anger, they stop expecting fairness. John does not complain about his suffering. The most tragic part, he does not say, "Why me?" He says, "I am sorry." That apology is the scar left by lifelong rejection. The film shows the psychological truth, really shown honestly. Continuous humiliation teaches people to blame themselves for cruelty done to them. If we talk about the pain of being looked at, people think the hardest part of John's life is being started at, but the film shows something worse. Being looked at without being seen. Eyes land on his face, but never on his emotion. Curiosity replaces connection. Fear replaces empathy. The camera often stays behind John, letting us feel what it's like to hear whisper without seeing faces. This makes the audience uncomfortable. This discomfort is intentional. That discomfort is intentional because this is how John lives every day. If we talk about kindness, that is still hard. At the hospital, John is treated gently, but gently does not mean equally. People speak softly when night break will make decision for him without asking. They praise him but never challenge him. This creates a new kind of case, a polite case, one made of smell instead of change. The film quietly suggests dignity is not protection, dignity is participation. And if we talk about John is protected from the world but also removed from it. If we talk about the mirror scene, the most important moment when John looks at himself, he does not cry loudly, he does not scream, he simply stares. Because he already knows the one reaction. The mirror does not shock you. It confirms that the mirror does not shock him, it confirms what the world taught him. Yet even here he does not hate himself. That is extraordinary despite everything he does not become bitter. His art, his art remains gentle, which makes the cruelty around him even more painful. If we talk about the audience inside the film, there is a moment when people gather just to see John, partly, politely, respectfully. But still to see this is when the film turns the mirror toward us because the film watching the movie is also watching. The question becomes unavoidable and we different from them. The film never accused it, simply asked, and that is more powerful than judgment. And if we talk about why the film feels heavy even without tragedy, nothing extremes happens for long stretches, no violence, no shouting, no dramatic music. Yet the film feels crushing because the pain is constant. It does not explode, it exists like a weight on the chest. The this is the most realistic portrait of suffering. Slow, continuous, invisible. If we talk about John's kindness, is not weakness. Many mistake John's softness for a weakness, but the film shown something profound. It takes strength to return, strength to remain gentle in a real world. It takes courage to stay kind after being humiliated. John's goodness is not ignorance. It is choice, a quiet refusal to let the world corrupt him. If we talk about the if we talk about the final night, the most human moment, when John decides to lie down like a normal man, he is not chasing death, he is chasing equality. For one moment, he wants to experience what others never think about sleeping flat. Looking at the ceiling, resting without pain. He chooses dignity over survival, and the film treats that choice with respect, not tragedy. There is no horror, only calm, the kind of calm that comes after a lifetime of endurance. If we talk about what the film really leaves behind, in the screen fades, the sadness is not just for John, it is for the kids and the film leaves behind. How many people around us are suffering quietly, not because of their condition, but because of how we look at them. The film does not demand change, it invites awareness, and awareness is the beginning of empathy. If we talk about final inner meaning, the Elephant Man is not a story about deformity. It's a story about how easy it is to dehumanize, how their true understanding it, how dignity matters more than sympathy, how how humanity how humanity how humanity lives inside behavior, not appearance. John Merrick teaches nothing loudly. He teaches by existing, and that is why the film never leaves your heart. Let's talk about more. You have to wait for it till it's reloading. If we talk about when existence itself becomes painful, John Merrick's greatest suffering is not vain. It's permission he never feels allowed to exist freely. Every step requires approval, every movement feels like disturbance, every breath feels borrowed, and that is why he walks carefully, speaks softly, apologizes without reason. Because when a person grows up unwanted, they do not like they occupy space cautiously. The film shows this without saying a word. And if you talk about the damage that does not show on the body, doctors study John's body, but the deepest wounds are invisible. The fear of being seen, the fear of laughter, the fear of sudden noise, the fear of crowd. This is long-term psychological trauma, the kind that does not scream, it whispers. Even when you say his mind remains trapped in danger, the body heals faster than humiliation ever does. And if we talk about why John never hates anyone, one of the most painful truths is that John never becomes angry. Not at the show honor, not at society, not even at fate. This is not innocence, it is exertion. Anger requires energy. John is in all his energy. This is just surviving. The film teaches something rarely acknowledged. Some people do not fight back, not because they accept injustice, but because they are too tired to fight anymore. If we talk about the window seems longing without hope. Whenever John looks outside, he does not imagine escape. He imagines he imagines normal life, families walking, people are laughing, ordinary conversation, not greatness, not dreams, just belonging. This is devastating because it shows how low his expectations have been pushed. He is not uh, dream big, he dreams human. If we talk about time moves differently for him. For others, time moves forward. For John, time stands still. Days repeat, rooms repeat, faces change, but the distance. This is why the film feels slow, intentional, because loneliness stretches time. One quiet hour alone feels longer than a year surrounded by love. The pacing itself mirrors isolation. If we talk about the film as a moral test, the movie never tells what to feel, it watches how you feel. Do you feel comfortable? Do you look away? Do you pity him? Do you admire him? Do you feel guilty? Every reaction says something about us, not him. That is the genius of the film. John Merrick is not being judged, we are. And if we talk about dignity, is not love. The film redefines strength. Strength is not standing tall. Strength is staying gentle when bitterness would be easier. John never demands respect, yet he deserves it more than anyone. He does not argue for humanity, he embodies it. And if we talk about the final moment, not sadness but release. When John chooses to lie down, the moment is sacred. There is no fear. There is no fear, no panic, no desperation, only calm. For the first time in his life, he chooses something for himself, not what others decide, not what doctors allow, not what society tolerates, his own choice. That moment is freedom, not escape freedom. If we talk about the true message, the film message, be kind. It asks something harder. Why do you consider human and why do you unconsciously execute? Because the root cruelty doesn't always look like violence. Sometimes it looks like avoidance, sometimes it looks like starving, sometimes it looks like silence. And if we talk about final soul truth, John Merrick's body was broken by illness, but his life was broken by how people look at him. Yet, even then, he remained kind. This is not tragedy, this is quite heroism. And that's why the elephant man is not depressing, it is humbling. Let's talk about more. It's learning, guys, you have to wait. If we talk about when a person stop asking why me, it's somewhat in uh, something a person stop questioning fate, not because they understand it, but because questioning hurts too much. John Merrick has reached that point long before the story uh, begins. That's why he doesn't protest. That's why he doesn't rebel. That's why he doesn't dream of revenge. He has already accepted that the world will not change for him. This acceptance is not peace, it is surrender shaped by year of rejection. If we talk about the most painful realization, hardest truth, the hardest truth John learns is not that people are cruel, it's that they are uncomfortable, they don't hate him. They simply don't want to be reminded that suffering exists. So they look away, and being ignored hurts more than being insulted. Because insults knowledge's existence, ignoring denies why his kindness feels unbearable. If John's were angry, the audience could distance themselves. Anger familiar, but he is not. He is gentle, polite, grateful for the smallest kindness. And the gentleness becomes unbearable because it reveals how undeserved his suffering is. The film forces us to sit with that unfairness, not justification, no lesson, just reality. Every step he takes is courage. For a normal person, walking into a room is nothing. For John, it is bravery. Every doorway means judgment. Every sound might be laughter. Every silence might be fear. So when he walks forward slowly, carefully, that is courage, not cinematic courage. Human courage, the kind that goes unnoticed. If we talk about the world, never ask him who is. Everyone talks about them. No one talks to him. They discuss him, study him, describe him, but rarely ask, what do you feel? The film shows how dehumanization often begins with language. When someone becomes a topic instead of a person, Why the film feels like a memory. The film and white visuals don't just represent history, they feel like memory, like something already lost. Because from the beginning the film carries the weight of inevitability, not the but gentleness fading, like a candle slowly burning out quietly. And if we talk about his final act is self-respect, when John chooses to lie down, he is not choosing death, he is choosing equality. For one moment he wants to do what every other man does without thought and sleep normally. That simple act becomes revolutionary because society denied him even that, and in choosing it he claims his humility without asking permission. If we talk about what the film whisper not say, the film never tells you to cry, it never tells you to be kind. It whispers something far more dangerous. One day you may become the person others looks away from. Age, illness, disability, and loneliness. Difference comes for everyone eventually. And when it does, what will you hope people see your appearance or your humanity? And if we talk about the lasting pain and the lasting gift, the sadness of the soul never leaves, but neither does it soften. It teaches you to pause, to hesitate before judging, to notice the quiet people, to listen longer. John Merrick changes nothing in the world, but he changes the viewer, and that is enough. If we talk about final truth, he was not remembered because of how he looked. He was remembered because of how gently he existed in a cruel world, and may that is the highest form of courage. And let's talk about more. Let's talk about more and It's loading, guys. If we talk about when a human being learns to take up less space, John Merrick does not walk loudly, he does not breathe deeply, he does not, and, uh, and he learns something terrible. The safest way to survive is to make yourself stronger. This is not physical. It is emotional. He folds his presence inward so the world does not feel disturbed by him. This is what lifelong rejection teaches. And now, how to fight, but how to disappear. If we talk about the theory of being allowed instead of welcome, the hospital allows John to stay. Society allows him to exist, but no one welcomes him. There is a difference so painful it almost can't be spoken. Being allowed means tolerance, being welcomed means belonging. Non John receives tolerance. He never received belonging, and a human being can survive many things, but not a life without belonging. If we talk about why he never asked for more, he never asked for love, he never asked for touch, he never asked for companionship, because hope can't hurt more than reality. When hope is crushed too many times, the heart protects itself by wanting nothing. So John learns to be grateful for scraps of kindness, not because they are enough, but because expecting more feels dangerous. And if we talk about what makes his politeness so painful, Every thank you he speaks carries history. It's not gratitude alone, it's relief. Relief that he was not punished, relief that he was not mocked, relief that he was not chased away. His politeness is survival behavior, and that is what breaks the viewer's heart. The world, if we talk about the world, never meets him halfway. John reaches outwards constantly, gently, quiet, but the never fully reached back. People observe him. They sympathize, they discuss morality, but connection requires vulnerability, and most people are not brave enough for that. It is easier to feel sorry for someone than to truly know them. The film exposed that uncomfortable truth. His life was not short, it was consented, and people say John died young, but in truth he lived an entire lifetime of suffering in a short span. Pain phases the soul faster than time. He experiences rejection, fear, isolation, humility, hope, and acceptance all intensely. His life is not small, it is unbearable full. If we talk about why his death does not feel like defeat, in he rests for the final time, there is no struggle, no fear, no desperation, because he is not escaping life. He is finishing it with dignity, with choice. For the first time, he controls something that controls how small is freedom. The film's final gift, the film does not leave you crying. It leaves you softer, more careful, more aware. It teaches you something without words. Be gentle, you never know what someone has survived just to stand in front of you. If we talk about the last thing the film asks quietly, not did you like it, not was it sad, but who do you look away from in your own life? Because the world does not need more sympathy, it needs recognition. And if we talk about final hard truth, John Merrick never asked to be extraordinary, he only wanted to be ordinary. And in wanting so little, he revealed how much the world withholds. He did not change history. He changed perspective, and sometimes that is the deepest legacy a human being can leave. Let's talk about war. If we talk about when a life is measured not by joy but by endurance, some people do. If we talk about when a life is measured not by joy but by endurance, some people live to experience happiness. Some live simply to endure. John Merrick belongs to the second kind. His life is not built from memories of pleasure but from moments survived. Each day is not a chapter, it's an achievement. Uh, the film never celebrates success, it honors endurance, and endurance is the most invisible form of courage. If we talk about the saddest questions he never asked, John never asked, why doesn't anyone love me? Because somewhere deep inside he already believed the answer, that belief is not born from logic, it's born from repetition. Rejection repeated enough times becomes identified. Let's talk about more. If we talk about when a human being stop exacting kindness, there is a movement in every bounded life when hope becomes dangerous. Not because hope is bad, but because disappointment hurts more than emptiness. John Merrick crosses that movement long before the story begins. That's why kindness surprises him. That is why he reacts to gentleness with shock. Because when someone has been hurt for too long, kindness feels unreal, almost frightening. The film shows his truth quickly. If we talk about trauma, does not make people dramatic; it makes them cautious. If we talk about why he treats kindness like a gift, not a right. When someone speaks kindly to John, he lowers his head, not out of respect, out of misbelief. He does not think he deserves kindness. That belief did not come from nature, it was taught by laughter, whispers, by silence. The film shows how society can train a person to feel undeserving without ever saying the words. The word if we talk about the word feels dangerous even when it is not. Even in safety, John remains afraid because trauma teaches the body faster than the mind heals. shoulders straightens, his movement stays slow, his breathing stays careful, the danger we pass, but his nervous system doesn't know that. This is really known, shown on the screen. Pain does not end when circumstances improve. It equals. He doesn't uh, see himself as a victim. This is crucial. John never describes himself as wrong. He doesn't accuse the world. That absence of anger is not peace, it is self erasure. When suffering lasts too long, people stop framing themselves as victims because even that feels like asking too much. They simply exist and quietly. So it was the movie review of the movie The Elephant Man. I hope you like it. If you like it, then enjoy and say goodbye for alerts made on our next video. So goodbye.